like to welcome my co-host Chantel, who will be chatting with Simon Alexander Ong in our special education intensive episode. Today's topic is how to identify your most productive phases of the day, week, and year. Exciting stuff on the Fitness Business Podcast, so stay tuned. Hi, I'm your weekly show host, Dory Nugent, but today I hand the mic over to the lovely Chantel Broderick, who every 3 months produces an education-intensive show that allows for our FBP family to dive deeper into a topic. Chantel will begin her show shortly, but first, a huge thank you to our sponsor. MyZone has pioneered unique wearables with talking point technology that makes the difference. Reach more members of your community and keep them engaged for longer through motivation and gamification wherever they choose to work out. In the gym, at home, or outdoors, we're stronger together. Get in the zone at myzone.org. Thank you, MyZone. Make sure you check out www.myzone.org.
Hey, my name is Brandon Bennett from Physique Fitness in Salem, Oregon. I was a guest on show 371. I just want to say congratulations to Fitness Business Podcast on hitting 1 million downloads. A great achievement, and I'm super thankful that I was able on the show, and I'm super grateful that I was able to listen to the show and get things that I've used in my business throughout my career. Once again, congratulations, everybody.
After Chantel's interview, hang around so I can introduce you to next week's guest.
This podcast is brought to you by Hapana. Hapana is a cutting-edge membership management solution prioritizing insane engagement. Hapana puts your brand first so you can facilitate deep, meaningful connections with clients and members to book, pay, consume content, and build community. Hapana partners with fitness brands in both the boutique and big box segments that want to drive efficient operations and maximum engagement with clients and members. And they do this by providing direct world-class support with a passionate team who cares about your success. To see how you can transform your brand, go to hapana.com and ask for a demonstration. Hapana, engineered for engagement.
It is time to transition into the education intensive with Chantel.
Thanks, Dory. Hi, everyone. I have a little something different for you today. Rather than our usual educational intensive about business-specific topics, today's episode is focused very much on you, on how you can make the most of your time, how to prioritize and organize your day, and how to supercharge your productivity and performance. It's a great opportunity to check in with how things are running on a day-to-day basis in your business and consider any areas that you can look to improve by using some of the tips that you hear on the show. So without further ado, let me tell you about today's guest. Simon Alexander Ong is a personal development entrepreneur, coach, and public speaker. His clients are from all walks of life, but they share one trait. They all believe that the greatest investment that you can make is in yourself. His work has seen him invited onto Sky News and BBC Radio London, and Barclays UK featured him in a nationwide campaign on how families could embrace better lifestyle habits. His insights have seen him featured in the HuffPost, Forbes, Virgin, and The Guardian. He also speaks regularly at organisations and keynotes public events and conferences. His debut book, called Energize, has just been released and has received endorsements from the likes of Simon Sinek, Marie Forleo, Keith Ferrazzi, and more. Today, we're going to be chatting about how to identify your most productive phases of the day, the week, and the year. And during the chat, Simon shares tips on how to manage your energy in relation to your daily tasks, why you should review your most important business tasks and their timing, and make sure that you listen out for the Fitbizpiration when Simon shares tips to supercharge your productivity and performance. I think you're going to love it. All of that and more is coming up on today's show, so let's dive straight in. Simon, I want to say a super warm and very energetic welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast.
Chantal, thank you so much. I am very much looking forward to our conversation together here.
I think it's fair to say that, we all have those moments in our business, whether we're running a gym, whether we are managing a team of people, or whether we're just running our own small business, where we go through the ebbs and flows of being energized or maybe being a little bit uncertain of where things are going or a little bit unproductive. So today we are going to talk about how to identify that most productive phases of your day, your week, and your year. So do you want to get us started, Simon, with how do we actually find out what those phases are?
Sure. Well, I think the very first step, and it applies not just in terms of understanding our own energy, but also in terms of understanding our own life at a broader level as well, is to deepen our level of self-awareness. Because you cannot have self-development without self-awareness, because you simply can't change what you're not aware of. And that is why when I work with clients, when I speak to audiences, Chantal, I often say that the beginning of true wisdom is knowing yourself. And so what happens is that, we can't plan too far ahead. I don't think there was any business that had COVID precautions built into their business plan. And so if we can't plan too far ahead, well, how do we manage our own energy? Well, the thing is to focus one day at a time. Because as you said just now, Chantal, my energy today versus tomorrow may be very different, because there is so many things that can happen between today and tomorrow. And so when you plan for the day ahead, you want to ask yourself, well, given what I know of myself, when do I feel at my highest level of energy and when do I feel at my lowest? And for each of us, it'll be different. And this is why when we think about productivity, we have to include the concept of energy management. Because for many of us, when we think productivity, the first thing we default to is being a better time manager. I need to manage my time better. Now, for me, the challenge with that is if you exclusively focus on just managing your time better, you are assuming that your energy is constant throughout the whole day. And so you might open your diary and you look at your day ahead and you go, okay, I'm going to go to the gym at 4 o'clock. I'm going to block out 1 hour. And then I'm going to do 2 hours of work before dinner once I'm back home. Now, as much as you are good in terms of managing your time in that way, you are forgetting that your energy might dip mid-afternoon just before you want to go to the gym. And so that is why many people who put going to do exercise or moving their body at the end of the day are very unlikely to do so. Because let's say you have a particularly busy day, something's come up at work, you've got to address something. You're going to get to that point and think, you know what? I'm just going to go home, kick up my feet and watch some Netflix. So that is why we have to shift the things that we want to do that are good for us to periods of the day in which we have high levels of energy. And it's why when you look at some of the most successful people, they tend to, on average, do the exercise at the beginning of the day. Because when you wake up, you have your highest levels of energy. You exercise, you put your mind in a state that is ready for whatever challenges the day may throw at you. But now you've done it. You've got it out of the way, and it's a small win. And that actually energizes you, because knowing that you've ticked that off straight away, you've got a small win under your belt, starts to kick off momentum. And so it begins with really understanding what is your own energy levels in the morning, in the afternoon, and the evening. Some of us will be night owls. Some of us will be early risers. And once you know this information, it's then about building your day around that data so that you're working with your body and your energy and not against it.
Yeah, it's so interesting you say that, because I think with a lot of the FBP family out there, they will understand that context of, perhaps putting something like a physical activity or an energy at the beginning of the day, because it then energizes you. But I think one of the areas that, us, on behalf of us in the fitness industry, one of the areas that I know that I have struggled with over the years is prioritizing time management around the business-based tasks that perhaps I'm not as fond of or I'm not as good at certain things. So what advice would you give to the FBP family on the topic of time management, productivity on their day-to-day running of the business?
Sure. I think the feeling of not having got the things you wanted to have got done is very much a result of having a never-ending to-do list. And so you're adding so many things on your to-do list that you're always trying to catch up. So the way I approach this, Chantal, is, again, firstly, understanding my energy. You only have so much energy in a day. So if your to-do list is constantly going bigger and bigger, you are not going to have the energy to finish it. So what I do instead is, knowing that information, is I simply ask myself, what are the 3 most important things that I could get done today? And that by the end of today, I know I will have had a productive day. And so what happens is that once I've done my workout in the morning, I sit down in front of my desk. I know that those 3 things are my absolute musts. Now, whatever I do or don't do for the rest of the day, I already know I've had an incredible day if I've just done those 3 things. Now, I may have a 4th, a 5th, or a 6th, but if I don't get around to them, it doesn't matter, because I've done the 3 most important. Now, if I finish those 3 tasks way ahead of time, then of course I can do the 4th, the 5th, and 6th and enjoy that, because those become a bonus. And so for me, it's really asking yourself, what of that list you have written down is the most important? For some of us, if 3 does feel overwhelming, and I understand everybody has different lifestyles, different obligations and constraints, I just want to show you how powerful it is just to know what your priority is. Even if we make it simpler than 3 and we just go for 1, what one thing would make the biggest difference for you in making progress forward in whatever you're working on right now in your personal or professional life? Now, if we just do 1 thing a day, imagine this for a moment. 365 days from now, a year from now, that is 365 steps forward. Imagine who and where you could be. So it's the power of that one action compounding over time. So don't underestimate the fact that you're taking small steps forward. Even just 1 step consistently taken, remember, consistency beats intensity, will allow you to make significant progress a year from now. So if we then look at a week is similar. So I think a story will help illustrate this, Chantal. So I was doing a talk at a company recently, and it was a talk to their managers. So there was a leadership sort of conference, and there was a room of managers coming to hear a number of us speakers talk. And I was talking about this idea of energy management within the company, not just at an individual level, but as a leader, how do we manage it within our teams so we give them the space to flourish? And I asked them a question, which was, when do you hold your most important meeting for the week with your team? And most hands went up when I said Monday. So I went through the days of the week, and most managers raised their hand when I said Monday. The next question I asked them was, what do you feel your team's energy is like first thing on a Monday when they've come back after the weekend? There was some laughter, there was some smiles in the audience. And of course, the answer was, well, not particularly high on energy. One person even said, I think it gets higher as we get towards midweek and the end of the week. But at the beginning, it never tends to be very high. And I said, have you just noticed a huge misalignment there? You've just told me you don't feel the energy of your team is the highest on a Monday, but yet you hold your most important meeting on a Monday. And so on the one hand, you want them to contribute, to have input into the conversation and meeting, while on the other hand, you know they're not at their most energized. So how can you expect one while also knowing the other? And so simply by moving the most important meeting to a Wednesday or a Tuesday afternoon when the energy is starting to peak, that's where you get the most out of your team. And so we can understand the energy of a team as a whole and redesign the week to allow that to be leveraged.
That makes complete sense, and a really great action that everyone can do straight away within their business. And then if we have had a look, Simon, at sort of that daily energy flow and time management, we've had a look at what that maybe looks like across a week. What about across a year? Because, you know, if we've got any of our FBP family out there that perhaps they're trying to launch a new business, perhaps they're trying to rebuild a business after a very, challenging couple of years that many people had over COVID, a year is a significant amount of time that you can make significant impact. We just talked about 1 step per day over 365 days. So how do we identify those most productive phases of a year, and how can we make the most of them?
Sure. So I think there's 2 parts of this, Shanta. On the one hand, we can identify the productive phases of the year. On the other hand, sometimes we have situations in which we have to manage around. So, for example, you mentioned the launch. I can relate to that. I've got a launch of a book, I've been working towards for the last couple of years. And so I can't always choose when that launch will happen, because that is a collaboration between myself and my publisher. So on the one hand, we can identify our productive phases of the year and we can build around that. But at the same time, there will be situations where you can't always choose when things happen. So in my case, the launch is in April, and knowing that, I can build my time and my energy around that information. So knowing that I'm going to need a lot of energy as it comes into the launch period, what I did deliberately, Chantal, to manage that about 4 or 5 months before is really blocking out lots of white space. So what I mean by this in practical terms is I do one-to-one client coaching. So I deliberately stopped taking any more clients. So I only work at this present moment, with about 4 or 5. Great. And any other new inquiries, I'm holding off until after the publication of the book. So that gives me a window of a couple of months of breathing space, because I know that I'm going to get invitations for speaking events or PR-related activities, interviews with journalists and media, shooting videos, doing podcasts. And so I want to make space so that when someone goes, Simon, do you want to come on my show? Can we talk to you about the book? I'm like, yes, of course, we can find time to do it, because I've deliberately created that space, knowing ahead of time that I'm going to need the energy to help get the word out there. And so I think we can be more strategic when we already know ahead of time there's a launch that's going to happen. There's something important coming up. There's this event I need to prepare for. Once you know that, it's then about working backwards and thinking, well, how can I create a solid foundation so when this thing happens, I can show up as my energized best? And that's how we begin looking forward, whether that's a year, in my case, 2 years, to sort of plan for that in a way that when it comes, you're not exhausted and drained.
If we do need to reduce or eliminate and prioritize certain things, is there any advice you can give us on how we can go about doing that?
Sure. I think the easiest way to go about doing so is simply to sit down, open a blank page in your notepad or notebook, and write down the things that must happen for your business to move to the next level. And what are the things that no longer serve you or are holding you back from making that progress? Simply just doing that activity will be very insightful as to where you are spending your time right now. And then what you want to do is, once you've got those things written down on a list, it's just to look through each one and to circle the activities that are most important and the things that, well, you just don't need to spend as much time on. Now, if you want to take it a step further, the next thing you want to ask yourself is, well, which of these things can I outsource? Which of these things can I delegate? Because at the end of the day, you are only one person. You can't do everything. You're human. We only have 24 hours in a day. And so looking for that list, and if it's something that you still need to do, but you have better things to focus your energy on, then figure out a way that you can outsource or delegate it, so those things can still be looked after, but you can focus on the things that really matter.
Here's a great opportunity for everyone to have a think about where they are in their business, where they are in their day-to-day activities, and whether or not they do need to make a couple of changes. And I love the idea of listing as a way to work out, what are all those things that are taking up my time and taking up my energy?
Definitely. I mean, there's a great question a mentor once told me. So he's a very successful entrepreneur. I met him here in the UK. And then he moved to live in the Gold Coast in Australia, where you are, Chantal.
Just down from me.
Yeah, just down from where you are. And I remember when I was early in my career, he's a very successful entrepreneur. And he said to me, when you write that list down, and when you have those items that you need to do, but you don't want to do, the question you want to ask yourself next to each of those items is, how will I not do it? And he says, it might sound like you're trying to be lazy, but you're not. What you're trying to do is get creative. So you write down all these things that you have to do in your business. And the first question you ask yourself for each of those items is, how will I not do it? And what happens is that you can get very creative sometimes. Like, I remember just by asking myself some of those questions. So one of the things that I had to do as an example is, when people sign up to something on my website, then I would want them to then be added to this list, then be sent this, then to be given access to something. And I thought that is a lot of manual steps in the process. And so the question came back to my head, well, how do I not do this? And I came across an app called, I think it's Zapier, that just automates the entire process. Mm-hmm. And so I think simply asking ourselves the question of how do I not do this can really start to unlock our creativity, because our subconscious starts to find out solutions, whether it's you hear something from someone else, or you read an article where someone recommends a tool or an app or a service, and suddenly you start to become more efficient with your time and energy.
If you're listening to this at the moment, sometimes there are things within your business that we do because that's the way that they've always been done, or we do because, it just becomes a bit of a habit. But here's a great kind of line in the sand where, as Simon and I are talking today, maybe here's your opportunity to have a quick relook at the business and think about, is there areas that you can put on that not to-do list? Is there ways that you can refine the activity that you do on a day-to-day basis to perhaps systemize it, or, improve your efficiencies through using different apps or different systems? So I love that, Simon. Really, really great advice for people to have a think about.
Get your pen ready now for Keep Me's Fitbizpiration.
Okay, so leave us today, Simon, with 3 ways that we can supercharge our productivity and our performance.
Sure, I'm going to build the 3 ways around an acronym called GEL, so G-E-L. Mm-hmm. So the G in this acronym stands for gratitude. Now, as Pam Grout wrote in her book, Think and Grow Rich, gratitude is the gateway drug to abundance. So it has been proven that when you are feeling low in energy or low in mood, when you express gratitude with intention, and that final 2 words is key, gratitude with intention. So the with intention is key, and I'll explain why in a minute. When you express gratitude with intention, you actually supercharge your mood and energy. And here's a powerful exercise that demonstrates this. So you can do this now, actually. So if you have a pen and paper, write down the name of one person that you can be truly grateful for. The first person that comes into your mind. Mm-hmm. Second is to write down why. Why are you grateful for this person? And to make this work, you have to be as specific as possible. Think about the ways that this person has shaped you into who you are today. How have they shown up in your life when you needed them? What would life be like if they simply didn't exist at all in your life? Now, once you've got that written down in as much detail as possible, the third step is where the magic happens. So you take that, you pick up your phone, you call them, and you read out exactly what you wrote down. You take your time reading it out, and then you just pause and notice what you notice. Now, this exercise is incredibly powerful, not only for the recipient who hears you telling it to them, but also for you. Because in that very moment that you shared it with intention, you connect yourself to the universe around us. You start to understand how connected we all are and how much you already have in your life. So that's the first one, G for gratitude. Mm-hmm. The second is E. E is for environment. Now, I shared earlier and also in the preview clip that the fastest way to make progress in any area of your life or business is to design an environment that makes it impossible not to succeed. Now, when I talk about environment, it is not just the people you spend time with. Of course, that is the first thing we think about. Well, who are the 5 people I spend most of my time with? Who do I consult when I'm going through challenges? Who do I seek for advice from? But it goes beyond that. Your environment also encapsulates who you follow on social media, what you listen to, what you watch, your physical environment. All of these contribute to your thinking. And ultimately, as James Clear, the author of the best-selling book Atomic Habits, has noted, your environment is the invisible force that shapes your thinking and what you see as possible. So it is very important at regular points in your journey to stop, to reflect on your current environment, to review it, and then if it's not where it could be, optimize it, change it up so that it's going to help you get to that next level. So E is the second one. The final one, L, stands for legacy. And this is something that motivates me, Chantal. I've gone from being in a corporate world to working for myself to developing this business. And I think what sums up this journey in a way is the shift of my energy from career virtues, which are the things such as what company I worked at, what brand I was in, what title I had, how much money I earned. These are what I call career virtues because these are the things you put on your CV. But shifting the energy from career virtues to legacy virtues, which are the things such as the impact you had on other people's lives, your story, how people remember you. Now, those are the things that people are going to talk about when you have gone from this world. They don't care about the career virtues. Those things will just disappear, melt away. But it's the legacy virtues that remain. So a question that I always ask myself that gets me energized is, how do I want to be remembered? How do I want to be remembered? And now being a parent is, what's the legacy I want to pass on to my children? And this is beautifully summarized when Richard Branson, who I've mentioned is somebody I would love to have a business meeting with one day. When Richard Branson was asked, how do we measure your success when you, like all of us, will eventually pass from this world? And Branson replied by saying, do not measure my success by how well Virgin as a brand has done. Measure my success by the quality of my children. And that is what we call legacy-based thinking.
Something for us to all think about. Thank you so much. Now, before we say goodbye, because when this goes to air, the book will be launched. It will be out there. We will put the link in the show notes, but just really quickly remind everyone, what's the easiest way for them to get their hands on your brand new book, Energize?
Sure. The easiest way to get your hands on the copy is to head over onto the website, getenergizebook.com. That is Energize with a Z. And if you did want to connect or send me a message after you have heard this interview, then the two platforms I am most active on is LinkedIn or Instagram. If you're using LinkedIn, simply search Simon Alexander Ong and connect with my personal profile, because there is both a personal profile and a company page. And if you are on Instagram, my handle is @SimonAlexanderO.
Fantastic. Simon, thank you so much. Thank you for jumping up. Thanks for spending time with us just out from your book launch. It was a pleasure to have you on the show, and thank you for sharing your experience and your wisdom and your energy with the FBP family.
My pleasure, Chantal, and thank you so much again for having me.
Hi FBP family, I hope you feel energized after my chat with Simon today, and I hope that you can use some of those great tips and lessons in your business and in your life. This is actually just a snippet of the full interview that I did with Simon, so if you would like to check out the full uncut video, then head over to Fitness Business Podcast YouTube channel and take a watch. I'll make sure to include the link in today's show notes. Back to you, Dory.
Did you know that the active ingredient in most disinfecting wipes has well-documented lung, skin, and reproductive health concerns? That active ingredient is called a quaternary ammonium compound, or a quat, not necessarily something you'd want in a health and wellness facility. VaporFresh disinfecting gym wipes avoid all quats and instead use an innovative citric acid chemistry to disinfect. Even with this greener chemistry, VaporFresh is still EPA registered to disinfect 99.9% of surfaces. VaporFresh is trusted by some of the most premier gyms and college rec centers nationwide. With 1,200 wipes per roll and 4 rolls per case, they offer an unbeatable value per wipe. Order today at vaporfresh.com or Amazon.
Quickfire 5, sponsored by Hapana.
Let's get started with our Quickfire 5 questions with productivity coach and author Mrityu Parikh. Welcome back, everybody, for another episode of the Quick Fire 5. Today we have productivity coach, author, speaker, Mrityu Parikh. She is an expert in organization and just getting shit done on a day-to-day basis. So, Mrityu, welcome to the Quick Fire 5.
Dory, I'm so excited to be here. Let's go.
Oh, when I saw that you were coming on, I was elated. And I just love that you also say, AKA the stress squasher.
For sure. Isn't that what we're all feeling these days? It's like complete stress and overwhelm. It's like an epidemic, I think.
It is. So I'm really hoping by the time we're done with our quick fire 5, the stress is squashed and where we are putting a smile on our face and feeling inspired. But first, before you get to pitch your episode for next week, we've got a couple fun questions to ask. I can't wait to hear your answers. So you ready to get started?
I'm ready.
All right. Question number 1. What was a life lesson you learned from the pandemic?
Okay, this is kind of a two-parter. So I learned that I was more introverted than I thought. Like I thought I was so extroverted, but then once I was home, I really enjoyed being home. And I was like, oh, I don't have to be out all the time. But the second lesson in that was that I also realized after a year and a half of being home so much, it really turned into a complacency. And so I kind of had to get myself back out and really make, an effort to get out there again. And I love it, but I do think it was something you could fall sort of like into that comfort zone of it.
I hear that a lot, the complacency. I think a lot of people out there listening probably completely relate to that. So great answer. We're going to move on to question number 2. This is where we get a little more fun. If you could be a character in any movie, what character would you be?
Okay. So I didn't pick a movie. I picked a show.
We'll take that.
But are you familiar with Parks and Rec?
Yes.
Okay. So Leslie Knope from there, because she has so much energy and so much enthusiasm and so much optimism for everything that she does in her world and in her job. She loves it so much and she loves her, her town. And I just think that's just an amazing place to be, like that passionate and just that dedicated to what you do.
Please tell me you're also an Office fan as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely. For sure.
I feel like they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
All right, you're going to complete this statement. On Sunday mornings, you will find me
having my coffee, sitting on the couch, and then around 11 o'clock, I go to my favorite Zumba class once a week. It's like my entire Sunday is scheduled around this class because I love her so much.
All right. Well, hats off to the couch sitters. I'm the couch sitter, and I rarely get a couch sitter on that answer. So whoop, whoop for the couch sitter. All right, here we go. Love for you to recommend a book to our FBP family.
So one of my favorite newest books is called No One Succeeds Alone by Robert Refkin. I don't feel like it's that well known yet, but it is so good. He is the founder of Compass Real Estate, but it's a fascinating, really motivating story.
All right. We'll have to check that one out. All right. Are you ready? Here is your 30-second elevator pitch to encourage all of our listeners out there to come back next week for your episode. Take it away.
All right. If you're listening, there's a good chance that you are on information overload, right? There's so many demands and so many distractions thrown your way 24/7, and you need a really simple way to handle them all. And yeah, simple is the key, like nothing complicated. So that's why you should join next week. I'll be dropping some really simple and doable practical tips and strategies on how to take control of your time and everything on your ever growing to-do list.
I'd like to thank our founding partner, Active Management, our partners, Keep Me, My Zone, Discover Strength, One Fit Stop, and Hapana, as well as our advertisers, Rex Roundtables, MX Metrics, and Vaporfresh. We believe what you leave behind is not what is engraved in stone monuments, but woven into the lives of others.